We now come to we have two amendments on the table, one from Gareth Hughes and one from James Shaw. They are, while not the same, quite closely related, and I propose to the House that we debate the two order papers, numbers 82 and 83 together, but vote on them separately. Any objection to that process? James. The question is that these two supplementary papers stand apart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to speak briefly to these. We did speak earlier on in the debate about the SOPs that we're going to be introducing, but if you'll just allow me to read from the SOPs. So the first one, which is in the name of Gareth Hughes, adds a section 3A, which is to amend section 90, Crown use of telecommunications development levy. So it would come in as after section 93, insert the following: 4. The Minister must ensure that any of the use of the telecommunications development levy for purposes specified in subsection 1B or D promotes A. competition in non-urban telecommunications markets, and B. the diversity of non-urban communities intended to be served by the levy, and C. the range of different technological options that may best serve particular non-urban communities, and D. the rapid pace of technological development. The second SOP, which is in my name, would amend section 90 as well, inserting the Minister must ensure that any use of the telecommunications development levy for the purposes under section 1B or D does not fund any person to meet their existing contractual requirements with the Crown. So I'd just like to speak very briefly to these. Earlier on in the debate, I tried to discern what the different objections were, and the Labour Party have raised a number of extremely pertinent questions about the bill, and one of these is to do with the evaluation and the reporting about the effectiveness of the existing rural broadband initiative. And so that is essentially the intention behind Gareth Hughes' SOP, which is to ensure that new technologies that are emerging are taken into account of, and the pace of that change, to ensure that there's competition and a diversity of players in the marketplace, and that the needs of the local environment and the local communities are taken into account, and some of those variances between places, so that you don't have a one-size-fits-all. And earlier on in the debate, Mr. Cunliffe used the example of Mount Cook, saying that you're not necessarily going to lay a massive UFB pipe to Mount Cook because there aren't enough people there, but there are a range of technologies that we might consider. People have used balloons as an example, or the use of mobile telephony and so on. And so the intention behind this SOP is to ensure that these funds raised are used wisely, essentially, and that they encourage a market-oriented approach as opposed to favouring just a few big companies. The intention behind the second SOP in my name is where it says that the Minister must ensure that the use of the Telecommunications Development Levy does not fund any person to meet their existing contractual requirements with the Crown. There was a question raised about how particularly Spark and Vodafone, when they were awarded earlier contracts with the 700 megahertz spectrum, that they got a lower price because they made a commitment to install black spot towers in return for a better price. And so we wanted to ensure that the funds raised through this extension of the levy were not used to fund existing contractual requirements, essentially to say that those companies wouldn't have two bites of the same cherry. So that's the intention behind those SOPs, and I shall rest here.